Nurture and support. Nurture and support. This is a podcast theme song. And it's really short.
Nurture and support begins in 3, 2, 1.
Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Nurture and Support, a recommendation podcast. I'm Kelly Toole at KELLYTHUL on Twitter.
And I'm Mel at Karmic9 on Twitter, and we're back for another week.
Another week, and I'm super excited about both, but my social media recommendation and my main recommendation. It's not a long one, the main recommendation, but it's a fun one. And it actually is based on, related to a previous recommendation that I've made. So I don't know if you recall, gosh, this would have been pretty early in Nurture and Support. I recommended House of Cards.
Yes.
And it's still a recommendation I stand behind. They just, their most recent season came out a while back, and it was pretty fun, and there's going to be one more, and pretty interesting things happening there, although it seems like real world is getting stranger than House of Cards, but yeah. I digress. But in this most recent season of House of Cards, we're getting to the end where Frank Underwood's going to be running against this young, brash Republican candidate who's former military and does Instagram, and his wife is all, they film everything and it's clips, and they know about Snapchat, and they're like tech savvy, young, Kennedy-esque looking folks. And at one point, and Frank's, of course, a lot more old school, although the really cool thing about Frank is that he loved to play video games like Call of Duty and those types of things. And so they're having, at some point, Frank and this other guy are having a conversation, and he brings up, I hear you like gaming. And Frank goes, yeah, I do. I don't have much time to do it anymore. And then he brings up, he goes, well, I like the game too. In fact, this is something my kids showed me, and I kind of like to play it. And so it was on his phone, of course, because he's like a cool guy. The games are on the phone for a cool guy. And he showed him this game called Agario, AGAR.io. And so Frank kind of played it a little bit, and it's like, oh, you're a big, you're a dot, and you eat little dots, and you get bigger. Oh, kind of like running for president. Ha, ha, ha. And so it's kind of interesting. And I said, so is this made up for the show, or is this a real thing? So I did a search, and sure enough, there is an Agario, and it is an awesome game. And so it has been occupying much of my time. I have no presidential ambitions, but I think you can play it without having that.
Well, that's good.
It's super cool. Very basic game, and I believe, I know there are browser versions of this as well. So you can get it for iOS, you can get it for Android, or you can kind of just go to the Agario website and do it there too if you want to kind of just play it on the keyboard. But the premise is remarkably simple. You're a dot in a field of other dots, and you're bigger than a lot of these small dots, and so they're like little food, like almost like the Pac-Man pellets. So you go around and you start to eat these other dots, and so you're adding mass, basically. You're different little pieces of mass. So as you continue to eat more and more of these little dots, you get bigger and bigger. But this is a multiplayer game, so while you're cruising around eating a bunch of little dots, they're just kind of randomly spread all over a confined field of play. It's not an infinite field of play. You eventually run up and you hit an invisible barrier, and you go, okay, I am the furthest left I can be, furthest right, there's corners, so it's a large rectangle, confined playing, but you can kind of cruise around, and the boundaries are not delineated until you run into them, which can be kind of an unpleasant surprise when you're running away from a bigger blob. So you continue to eat things, and other people do, and you can try and eat the people who are eating the other dots, and if you're bigger than them, you can consume them, and then you add their mass to your mass, and you can get bigger and bigger, etc. So you get a lot of players in there, you cruise around and you do that. The other, outside of cruising around and trying to dodge people, and another kind of cool thing is the bigger you get, the slower you move, which is something I'm familiar with. And so some of these big guys come after you. You can, if you're smart, you can usually outdistance them. However, you can also eject mass so that at some point, if you're like, I need to I'm going to trim down a little bit here to pick up speed, or there's a lot of folks that play this as teams. And so if I was like really, really large, I could kind of fire some stuff over to you and kind of increase the size of yours and those types of things. So ejecting mass doesn't consume the other one, but you can kind of pass it back and forth, and you can split. So you can get pretty big and then split into two, and now all of a sudden you've got kind of a little bit of a squadron going, or even into more pieces and all that. Also on the playing field, there are some larger green dots that are called viruses. that when you're small, it's a good thing to hang around the virus because the big guys don't like the viruses. Because once you get to a certain size of mass, if you cross through, you can just pass through the virus when you're small. It's also a good place to kind of hide behind sometimes because as you go behind the green dot, it's opaque and they can't see you. But if you're a big guy and you hit one of those viruses, it immediately splits you apart. So the big guy's chasing you, you can kind of get near some of those viruses and kind of use it as a bit of a defense mechanism. So it's a really fun game. You can spend a lot of time, and it's got, like a lot of these games, if you score, you continue to build up coins that you can buy to buy new skins for your little circle, so you can look cooler. As you reach different levels, you can get that you're rewarded at certain levels an additional skin for it, and that you can also use those coins to buy an increase in mass or experience point gain so that you start off bigger, or as you collect points faster. And then it says, hey, buy coins for it's the typical thing a lot of games do. But you can just through sheer will and effort amass enough coins to buy a reasonable skin if you want to, and then occasionally use some of these other power-ups. There's definitely some people that have this thing gamed pretty well, and as you're playing it, you're cruising along, and then it's like, that's no moon, because all of a sudden you kind of come into this space and there's this gigantic sphere coming your way. Or when the ones that are pretty big, that they'll split. And if you're like traveling left to right and you split, the party that split rockets out on the same trajectory you are. So a lot of times when people get pretty big and when you see like a really large guy kind of charging you, I know I'm kind of screwed because the next thing he's going to do is split. And then all of a sudden the second version of him, still much larger than me, charges over and gobbles me up. But it's really fun. Kind of a lot of, it's like playing tag, doing a lot of dodging and running around, trying to get as many dots. A couple little features to do some different things. Great time waster, build up points, build up levels. And I learned all of it by watching House of Cards. But it's pretty awesome. It's a fun game. So, and like I said, it'll work on your iPhone, on Android, and then there's a browser version as well.
So what happens when they gobble you up?
You're done, and they're bigger.
Okay.
And then you just restart.
Do you lose mass when you lose a level like that?
So now you gain experience points as you play, and that's part of the thing that eventually when you go to a new level you get coins, and there's come in and daily check-ins and watch a video and get coins and all that. But you never go backwards in terms of your experience and moving up levels. Mm-hmm. It's just whoever eats you gains your mass, and you're back to the start screen.
Okay. Yeah. So you don't lose your experience points, but you do lose your mass that you've accumulated since your last death.
Right. Yeah. Wherever. Yeah. It's a complete restart at that point.
Okay. Yeah. This sounds familiar. I must have heard it somewhere, but I don't. The whole ejecting mass part and it being and having a virus. I wonder if this game's not on Steam. I'll have to look. It sounds so familiar to me, but I've never played it. And the multiplayer aspect of it, that sounds intriguing, though I tend to get killed in multiplayer games.
Yeah, and there are, and then I'm a remedial player. I just go in and like to have fun and enjoy it. There's obviously some people who take this very seriously. There are people that play as teams, work together, which I could see how that could be very effective if you were working together to do that. And then there's these truly evil people that, so when you go in, you register and you get set up to go. But basically, as you come in, you can type in whatever you want to for your screen name for the game, and it's going to lay that screen name across your little circle so as you play in the game. And there's this nefarious group of folks that some people honestly go in there and say, "Play team?" ? Looking for teammate, these types of things. So that you're kind of going around and you see, oh, there's a guy that wants to work with me. And then you guys could kind of work together. However, there are several people who suggest that they want to be your teammate, but they don't really want to be your teammate. And they turn on you.
That's so ugly. And just like politics.
See, there you go. They put on it. So there's many, many parallels. Many parallels to it, but it's a fun game. I've noticed occasionally it's a server-based game, and so I'm assuming there's like multiple servers going to kind of support it. I've noticed a few times when I've come on that it says connection issues or slow, and that's pretty much death in this game. If you get any kind of lag when you're trying to kind of dodge around, not so good for you.
Yeah.
From there, but I mean, it's happened sporadically, but it's just like I said, it's pretty fun stuff. I'd like to try actually the desktop version because I imagine that's probably a pretty fun experience too. But with the phone, you're just dragging your finger across the screen on for the direction. And it's a good kind of little bit. You got to think strategically, and it's kind of fun to do. You've got a few options, like if you lift your finger off, momentum stops, or you can leave it where momentum doesn't. So if I kind of pull to the left and lift my finger off, I could continue in a leftward motion until I change it. Or if I lift my finger off, it just kind of comes to a stop. I've yet to determine what's the best for me. Right now, I'm doing it with the when I release the finger, I come to a stop, because that kind of helps me hide behind the little viruses on occasion. So,
Right. Might
Yeah,
have to try that with the Apple Pen.
that you're going to be precisely going after.
That's right.
You're going to have much more precision.
Yeah, unfortunately, being in the country, I have a lot of lag, so.
That could be, and I don't know if it's the connection lag or the server lag, but I've just noticed it come up a few times. But if you guys try it and you happen to be playing and there's a blob cruising around that's called Bog Panda, that would be me. So
go gobble him up.
Yeah, you should. I'm there. I'm there to serve.
Screenshot that, folks.
That's right. Yeah, we should pretty much saying yes. I ate Kelly. Everybody can comment that. Everyone that kind of took me out.
Cool. I'm gonna have to check that out. That sounds very interesting. The things we can learn from Netflix shows.
That's right. A recommendation within a recommendation. How about that?
They're so cutting edge. I have a pretty cutting edge recommendation this week. It's a newish podcast. I really like this one, and it's a little bit different. It's called Uncanny County, and it's kind of like some of my previous recommendations, like the Drabblecast podcast, where they're telling a kind of a short story. It's an audio drama. There's a cast of characters, and it's very strange, kind of weird little stories set in anywhere. They could be anywhere America. It's very steeped in Americana, but all of the stories have something weird about them, not necessarily always a supernatural sort of phenomenon, but there's something weird about every story. I really enjoy this one. I tend to get bogged down with getting overwhelmed with constant episodes of so many of the podcasts that I listen to. This one is only once a month. And I've really enjoyed that about it, that I know once a month I get a treat to a very cool, weirdish little story set in Uncanny County. And each episode is only about 30 minutes long. So you're not looking at a huge investment in time to try to catch up to the stories. And each episode is not related to the others. So you could jump in really at any time and get a feel for what it is. But I think what I'll put up on the blog post is they have a YouTube video that they did a quick little intro podcast with sort of their intro music and everything. And I think y'all will like it. One of the things when I first heard the intro to this podcast, I knew that I was going to like it because it's very country. It turns out that most of the people involved, and actually the two co-creators, Todd Faulkner and Allison Crane, are both from Oklahoma. And most of the people involved in this are from Oklahoma, though none of them live in Oklahoma anymore. And so it's kind of steeped in sort of the traditions of my area. It's very Midwest Oklahoma country type feel to it. A lot of the people have rural accents going on, so it's really interesting. I like it. I really enjoy the story. The very first one, the first episode, is about a town with a little town that has a alarming number of little helper robots. It very much reminded me of Eureka, the TV show. The feel of that episode just really kind of felt a little bit like that. There are only 5 episodes out, So you can catch up on this really quickly. Now, I will tell you, I'm at episode 4, and there's a reason for that, because episode 4 deals with clowns.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yes.
Robot clowns?
No, I don't think so. There's going to be something really bad about these clowns. I have a feeling. The description on this episode is just epic, and so I've kind of stopped there because I don't need to listen. I usually listen to this at night before I go to sleep, and I don't need to listen to scary clown stories before I go to sleep because clowns are scary anyway. But
maybe these are helpful clowns trying to raise the minimum wage.
I don't think so. It's about a guy who's terrified of clowns, who is engaged to a woman who is a professional clown. And to get him over his fear, they're going to go stay in a clown motel where he gets over his irrational fear. That is, if it's an irrational fear. That's what the description says. And I'm like, oh, great.
I cannot think of anything bleaker in the universe than a clown motel. I
can't think of anything more terrifying than a clown motel. So I've stopped at that episode. I've been trying to. I haven't skipped past it to listen to 5. I've been holding at episode 4, getting the courage to listen to the clown episode. But it's a really enjoyable podcast. I think any of you would actually really, really love it. The stories aren't continuous. It's not a serial, so you don't have to listen to them in order. If you're a fan of Night Vale, I think that you would like this. The whole small town feel with weird goings on. I think any of you that like Night Vale would really enjoy this one too. And it's new. And it's just really cool. It's really, really a fun listen. And it's as funny as it can be a little disturbing. So it's very well done in that it's very humorous, very small town, very Americana, but also very weird. So you're not left with a hopeless feeling at the end of every episode, which is good given some of the subject matter that we've had. We've dealt with some mother issues in another episode, so that was a good one. And I don't want to give any of the stories away because they're only 30 minutes long. You'll sit down and it'll be over in a second. So it's good. Uncanny County. It's available on every podcaster out there, every podcast catcher. Their website is uncannycounty.com. And I'll put a link up to the YouTube intro, which I think will sell a lot of you on really going and giving this one a listen because I really enjoy it. I'd like to get some more listeners. They don't really need my help because I think they were in the top 8 of performance art podcasts, which includes Night Vale in that, and Night Vale is a huge one. So they have a huge ton of listeners for such a new podcast out there. So they don't need my plug, but I've enjoyed it, and I've come across quite a few people who haven't heard about it yet, and I've really enjoyed it, especially if you're into short stories type stuff. It's a good, quick, enjoyable listen. If I survive the clown episode.
You will.
If you don't hear from me again, the clowns got me.
Yeah. So, so we can't. These tricky copyright laws and how much of a song we can play and all that kind of stuff. Alice Cooper's got a song called "Can't Sleep or the Clowns Will Eat Me," and that would be kind of a great little goodie to work in there, but that darn copyright stuff is hard to work around. But that's a fun song. So
yeah, I'll have to look it up.
To them, I'm just a happy meal, which is pretty clever lyric if you think about it.
It is. I like it. Yeah, clowns are scary, and I actually know a couple of professional clowns, and they're scary.
I know a ton of professional clowns. In fact, one of them will be doing the voiceover at the end of our show. So.
Oh.
That's an early Matt Shiver shot. So.
Poor Matt.
We'll see how it goes. Well, he totally ignored me the other day, so he deserved it. Just walked right by me like I wasn't even there. Hurt me, cut me deeply. I was crushed.
It's because he's listened to the podcast.
That's fair. I guess when you put it that way, you have a point. All right, cool. Well, so you can get Mel's podcast, cue it up, put it on, download Agario, listen to, watch out for the clown episode, but eat some dots while you're listening to the podcast, and that's an evening. That's a party right there. Very cool.
Yeah.
All righty. I think we'll just jump real quick into Mel and I did a little pre-show check-in, so I believe I will be doing the only social media recommendation for this week. Is that correct?
Correct.
Correct. Okay, it'll be a short one. And I told Mel she'd like it, and I just can't see how she can't like it. So my recommendation this week is a recent follower of mine who I returned the follow shortly thereafter. I really have no idea why this account followed me. I'm completely perplexed why, but it's a neat account, and so I'm going through. So what I'm recommending everybody follow is Dogs in Charlotte, and that is at Dogs in Charlotte, CHARLOTTE, Charlotte the city. So they post pictures of pups in Charlotte, North Carolina, mainly from their Instagram account. Use the hashtag #dogs in Charlotte. So dogs in Charlotte, and it's very nice pictures of dogs in Charlotte. So it's always interesting when you're getting a notification in Twitter and it says you've just been followed by, and there's a lot of interesting ones from time to time, but this was a fun one.
Yeah. And who doesn't like dogs?
Regardless of where they reside.
Yeah, we don't care where they are. We like dogs. Ah, cool. I'm sure there are more than a few corgis in Charlotte, North Carolina.
I would think so. And they've got so I'm recommending the Twitter account, but it is linked, and as they mentioned in their bio, it's driven a lot by the Instagram photos and that kind of, and the link to their Instagram accounts right there too. So
cool.
You can do it right up.
Well, I'll have to check out their Instagram account, but I've been having some trouble with my Instagram, but we'll see. Hasn't been updating.
With your photos or photos of people you're following?
Other people's. Yeah, hasn't updated in like 6 days. I've deleted the app.
Well, I don't think anybody's posted anything to Instagram over the last 6 days. It's been slow.
I'm sure no one has posted anything to Instagram in 6 days.
It's a little bit, it ebbs and flows. Sometimes people are busy, so you may not be broken. It's just people may not be posting right now. So
yeah, okay, I'm sure that's it. I'm sure. No, it's not that everyone's blocked me or something.
Well, it could be that too. I don't know. Are we following each other on Instagram?
Yes.
I think we have to. You're not like super active, I think, then. Maybe? No,
I'm not.
I wouldn't describe myself as super active either, but on occasion.
Mine's mostly knitting pictures.
Very reasonable thing to do.
Yes. So.
Oh man, it had been such a great run where I hadn't thought about how much knitting podcasts kick our butt. And now you've brought it back to me.
Yeah, well, and there's more and more. Every time I look, there's more.
We got to figure out how to take them down. I don't know what that's going to be, but we'll have to do something. Well, earlier in the show, Mel talked about the podcast she's recommending and described, one element of it as funny but disturbing. Well, we're going to hand it over to somebody who's at least disturbing, and that's Matt Shivers. And Matt's going to go ahead, and that's two, Matt. I got you twice this episode, so treasure it. Matt, as awesomely as always, will go ahead and give you all the information on how you can connect with us on Twitter, YouTube, Stitcher, iTunes, etc. And we sure hope you do. Subscribe. I put out all of our videos. We take all our podcasts and I put them out on my YouTube channel. If you want to subscribe to that playlist, that would be awesome as well. If you don't grab us on iTunes. If you do grab us on iTunes and want to write a review sometime, we'd be super pleased and happy if you do that. And
and we're also on the Google Play podcast.
Oh, that's right.
Nowadays. I don't have a link up on the blog. I'll put one in where we put the other links in the blog post. I'll have to find that link. But
I'm gonna have to try and pull the show down that way. Kind of just see how that works. That'd be cool.
Yeah, we're in there somewhere.
Yeah, below all the knitters, like
obviously.
Everywhere else. Being crushed by the knitters every place we go. All right. Well, Matt will fill you in with the information, and it was great catching up with everybody this week, and I'd love your recommendation, Mel. And thanks for listening, everybody.
Bye. See you next time.
You can contact us on our website, nurtureandsupport.net, or email us at nertandsup@gmail.com. That's NURTANDSUPP @gmail.com. Or tweet us at NertandSup on Twitter.
Nurturing and supporting Uncanny.